Hey, it's Joey Balladonna here from Anthrax, and this is SAGAS.
Well,
Look, this is a big one.
I didn't break out and join the podcast today.
It is now time for Devil's Advocate. Same time, same place, awesome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And this is Ren, the Berserker Marabou. And this is...
Sagas.
Woo! Sagas, welcome.
Welcome. Episode, I think, 46, 47.
46, 47, wow. Getting up
we're
there.
getting to the 50s.
Early at the 50.
To think, going from our first episode where we had no video.
Yeah.
To this.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
And it was just YouTube based. We didn't get any, it's crazy. Crazy times back then. Here we are. So welcome everyone. Obviously you would have seen our last episode, which was Panopticon. It would be up already, so still a good album, part one. Obviously, if you want to listen to the whole album like Ren did, be my guest. But part one was the album. And today, if you want to introduce the album.
Yes, the very cool album by none other than Mr. Dave Grohl, the demon version of Mr. Dave Grohl behind Corbin there. Dream Widow, self-titled, isn't it? So this was an album that was suggested to me by a couple of the lads. They said, you may listen, because I'd seen the film, and they said, you may listen to the album because it's super cool. And I hadn't had a chance. But then I said, we'll do it. We'll do it together, Corbin, me and you, bro. Yes, I was pleasantly surprised, but I was already a fan of Probot from, Jesus, I don't know how old Probot is. Could be 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It can't be 20 years ago, surely to God. But anyway, yeah. So I knew Dave Grohl was into metal and he knew his good tune. So I was expecting this to be really good. And then, boom, it was. So what did you think, bro?
Well, so I'm going to have a few questions down the line because I'll be honest, I was never a big Foo Fighters fan, and the whole week I was thinking about it. I was thinking as to why. Like, that's the main question I asked myself this whole week. I'm like, I don't think I have a reason. I think for some reason and obviously this bias comes out of nowhere, but I guess this whole time until now, because I've even listened back to some Foo Fighters albums, and obviously I was wrong with my opinions, which I don't even know where they came from. But for some reason, I guess I always in my head, I always thought of Foo Fighters as like, or Dave Grohl maybe as like a bitch alternative band. I don't know why. Like I always thought it was a pussy. Like I was like, oh fuck this band. And then I don't know where that came from, where that stigma came from. So I've always avoided the band for whatever reason. And so when you suggested this album, it gave me a chance to really experience. And the movie, which I had to watch to get this album, it really opened me up to like, because I don't know what I was for some reason. I guess I always expected Dave Grohl to be vanilla for some reason, like a vanilla dude. And then I watched this movie, I'm like, oh okay, he's not that at all. I don't know. And then I'm like, well, he was the drummer for Nirvana, I guess, and he was the demon in Tenacious D's movie, The Pick of Destiny. So I'm like, why would I assume he was a vanilla dude? But so listening to this, it was a good experience, especially for 8 tracks. But the one thing I will say pretty much right at the gate, and this is only a big disappointment because of the movie, because of the time with the movie. My major disappointment with this album is that it's not one big song. Because in the movie, it is a song they're working on, not an album, a song that goes way too long. And so after I watched the movie and I went to the album, I was expecting like a 40-minute song as the movie suggests, but to see that broken down, it kind of disappointed me. I was like, look, why the hell would you make a movie and then put all the effort to make an album and then not follow the lore of the movie? I don't know. It kind of disappointed me. And I know like the last track's like 10 minutes, but Yeah, so that was my one gripe with with the album, is that it wasn't just one big long track like it should have been. But yeah, so my those are my initial admissions, reactions, and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had the same thing. Because when I watched that movie, I was like, "Oh shit, man! I need to record a 25-minute long song," and I attempted it there. Our song "Bloodlines" just after seeing the movie, and I think I got to like 15 minutes. I mean, Mrs. came in. She often comes in, Kathy, and sits down and listens to the tracks, and she was like, "Okay, you need to cut like at least 6 minutes off this." So we did. We cut it back to like 9 minutes, and so we settled on that. And then the boys are happy with that. So but yeah, when I listened to the album, I got to the last track, and I was expecting it to be because the last track in the album is the one that features in the movie, and I was like, oh, it's only 10 minutes. I was like, all right, fair enough, because there's a shit ton of riffs in that 10 minutes. So I was happy anyway. But I think it might be a play on. Speaking of play, the Dave Grohl done play. It was like this. Um, I think it was like a 25, 30 minute long song. Excuse me, where he filmed all of the him playing all of the instruments. He recorded all of them. And anybody who hasn't seen that, you may check it out because it's just him playing, like killing the drums, playing guitar, bass, keyboards. It was an instrumental, no vocals. So I think this might be kind of like kind of a play on his play thing that he did, which was like I think was to help promote getting kids into playing music, which is something that I'm all about. So yeah, I totally get you on that one. Like I do think that it was you should have put a 25-minute long track at the end, but anyway, you see, this is the thing. I've been a massive fan of Dave Grohl since Nirvana. I remember the first time I ever heard Dave Grohl playing something that wasn't just drums was a B-side on a Nirvana single. And I remember I was on a school tour and out in some middle of nowhere kind of adventure park for kids. And my friend turned around to me with an old disc man. He goes, "Dude, listen to this." And I was listening to it and I was like, "What is this? This is good, but what is it? I thought you had Nirvana with you." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, it's the drummer of Nirvana. He's singing and playing guitar. He wrote a song." I was like, "What? Really? Can you do that?" I was like, but no, he's a drummer. It's just at that age, I was just absolutely blown away. I could not understand the concept of being a multi-instrumentalist. And yeah, ever since then, I always strive to do that, to be that kind of guy. So not that I've anywhere come anywhere near Dave Grohl's quality, but like, it's definitely something that's always been on my mind. I wanted to be able to have a bit of skill in every instrument that I got my hands on. And so ever since then, Dave's been a massive inspiration for me. And we never got to talk about him on the podcast because of all of his Foo Fighters stuff. Is a little bit, it's not really metal, it's more rock. Um, Pretty rocking, good stuff. Like, but it's not. But he's worked with so many amazing artists over the years. It's just unreal. Like he is so deep in the music scene, on the top tier music scene. It's outrageous. Like he played drums with Queens of the Stone Age, which was fucking outrageous. That album that he played drums on was just absolutely ridiculous. Obviously Nirvana, Foo Fighters, but the Crooked Vultures, he got to play with John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. So straight away you're like, yeah, he's the king, man. And then he's worked with Lemmy quite a lot, and there's a lot of Lemmy influences on this album. You can hear there's a lot of Motorhead stylistically. But then he had a whole list of A-list rockers, if you want to call it that, on the Probot album. And Lemmy was one of them. So, Dave is just constantly producing music because he just genuinely loves music. And that's what I love about Dave Grohl. And so far he hasn't tripped up. He's the nice guy of rock, of he's the nice rock star. He's like the epitome of what it should be. Somebody that's just in it for the music, loves it. Sure, like he left school. Like, not that I promote leaving school for kids. I say stay in school, especially nowadays. But back in them days, leaving school and just pursuing your music career and getting to where he is now, it's outrageous. So he's an outrageous human.
Well, a few things. Number one, back then in his era, it wasn't. Back then in his era, you could leave school and do whatever it is you wanted to do because the world wasn't full of useless retards like there is now. Secondly, I find it quite ironic how you call him the nice guy of rock because the eerie thing I realized as you're naming his accomplishments and you're naming his accomplishments and his resume of people he's worked with, every single band he's worked with has a member that died. It's an eerie fact that's kind of crazy to think about. Foo Fighters even.
Oh well, I mean it's crazy. Yeah, man. The fact that it's like he's it's still a little fresh with Taylor, but it was like he was the singer, he was the drummer of Nirvana and the singer dies. He's the singer of Foo Fighters and the drummer dies. It's fucked up though. It is fucked up and it's such a shame, but it's
working with Zeppelin, the drummer's dead, Queen of the Stone Age, someone died recently, if I remember correctly. Motorhead Lenny. It's a
fuck, man. I never even thought of it like that. Shit.
He's the Grim Reaper of no. It's it's really good because as I said, all jokes aside, I got to go through the Foo Fighters catalog a little bit and just get to see what he's about. And and that's actually that's another thing. If you suddenly die and Terrence gets massive with his own band, that's gonna be something. What's interesting though, and I know this is a bit off the actual this album, but it's interesting how I read apparently in the first Foo Fighters album, which came out in '95, apparently David Grohl was going around advertising it, trying to hide his identity. He was trying to see he didn't want people to know it was him. And then that's when the name Foo Fighters came from, and it went from there. So it's like, why is he hiding his identity, Dave? He really is an amazing talented artist, and the movie was great. It was funny. It was there were some moments because I'm terrible with horror. So when I was watching it, I was just like, oh fuck, I got shook like those demonic things. Listening to the watching the movie, it got me hyped to listen to what I thought would be one song of 40 minutes, but it wasn't. But so a few questions I have. For this album, did he do all the vocals himself?
Yeah, he did. And interestingly enough, he doesn't sound like himself on quite a few moments on the album. Like he really I was trying to listen intently onto one of the tracks. I think it sounded like he might have had a pitch shifter or something on his vocals to make it deeper, but I don't know. It didn't sound like it, but it didn't sound like him. So unless he really reached down, because a lot of the fry screams that he does and the gutter roll stuff, he really pushed it out, man. Like he went all out. He didn't have to. He could have just done his Dave voice, but he did. He went the extra mile with the vocals too.
So the first track is him.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
That's the thing. When I first listened to this album, I was walking my dog, and when I played this album, like the first track, I heard the vocals. Like, what the fuck is this, Dave?
Yeah.
Is this Dave? So this album was because. What's also cool is because literally this was so I listened to this album obviously for this episode, and then I went to listen to Foo Fighters just to experiment with them. So this is my first experience outside of Nirvana from David Grohl. So when I heard this, I was like, oh yeah, this is the style. And in my head, I'm like, there's no way Foo Fighters sounds like this. And then I went back, I was like, I was right. So yeah, like. And just knowing that he can pull off this style, presumably with no tweaks, if he can just pull this naturally, like, I mean, yeah, drummer Nirvana, guitarist, singer for Foo Fighters, and then it discounts. I don't know if this counts as part of the resume, but now Death Screamer of Death Widow, Dream Widow. Yeah, it really is like it it really is a fun tie-in to the movie, and for all of you watching, you should go watch the movie. It's a good movie if you like a horror slasher kind of movie. And like I was telling Ren, there's a scene in the movie where, and early in the movie when he's like he's got fucking like mind block, writer's block, and he's playing like Lionel Richie on the piano, and then Lionel Richie comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Fuck, Lionel." And then and I was thinking how I would react if I saw Lionel Richie just pop out of nowhere. And then what's the funniest bit is when he goes back into the spirit realm where he's going. He's like, get your own song, nerd. He wasn't a nerd. I find that hilarious. But yeah, like I said, I just wish it was just one song. I just wish the album was one song, 40 minutes, and then it just feels so accomplishing, like knowing that they tied it in perfectly. I do love most of the songs on this album. I mean, I do have a clear choice for Devil's Advocate later, but it's a great bunch of tracks, and I just wish because then one song would just been like fitting, and now my OCD's all fucked up. I'm like, what? But no, definitely a great effort, and like it's actually quite crazy how they made this album. What is it? Right before Taylor died,
Yeah.
like, and then he dies in the movie, and it's by the hands of David Grohl. Yeah. It's just like it's a bunch of
Yeah.
coincidences that just happened before Taylor. So, and actually, if you remember, we made a tribute
We
to
did.
Taylor. I don't know. I forgot what episode we did it, but we did an episode, and I made the intro, the photo of Taylor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy how they made the movie, they made this album, and then he passed away. Like, that's crazy. Like if you really think about that, it is pretty crazy.
It is crazy, man. Like, even the studio in the movie is called Studio 666, or the movie is. But their actual studio that they record in all the time is Studio 606. So as a play off that, it's like their Foo Fighter headquarters where they have all of their gear, all the memorabilia, then they have the studio, but they have this really famous desk. It's a Neve desk by I forget the name of the guy, but his surname is Neve. He designed this desk. And it's a really famous console. When I say desk, I mean like a studio console. And it was originally in a studio called Sound City that they made a whole movie about it. About how this was the studio that Nirvana recorded Nevermind on. Motorhead recorded there. Just there's a massive list of artists that recorded through this desk. So Dave, the company was closing, it was going bust or whatever, and Dave said, "I need to buy this desk off you," and they gave it to him eventually because it's the kind of desk that would be like each individual fader, every section, every button, everything could have been split up and sold, for 10 grand each. It was that kind of a thing, but he wanted to keep it, and it's an old analog desk, and that's the thing about Dave, and that's where he gets his own sort of sound as well. It's everything's recorded on tape, and that's the other amazing thing about this album, that he's able to record albums on tape. And like anybody who doesn't know anything about that, it's basically one take, and that's the whole strip of tape, and it's very expensive to get the tape. So if you fuck up, you just blew a load of money. And the only way to make edits is to actually cut the tape and stick the tape. And it's a very arduous old school thing. It's not like nowadays where you can, do a million takes and it costs you nothing on your laptop or whatever. So he does. He sticks to the roots with how he records as well, which is incredible. And that's where he gets his signature sound. But I just thought that was really interesting that they called the movie 666 Studio 666 after the Studio 606. So that was a nice, cool kind of feature. But yeah. So anybody that hasn't picked up already, Dave Grohl recorded this in 606 and recorded all the instruments themselves. He done the bass, the guitar, the vocals, and the drums, obviously. But he also had the keyboard player, see the chap with the glasses behind you, dude. He's their keyboard player from the Foo Fighters. He recorded keyboard on some of the tracks, but they also had one of my favorite guitar players, James Rota. He is just this gnarly guitar player. He's played with everybody over the years. He's toured with, Oyster Club, Dio, Motorhead, Danzig, Anthrax, Rob Zombie, everybody. But he done all the lead guitar on this record. His own band is Fireball Ministry. If you want to go check them out, they're similar style, that kind of like stoner riffage, kind of like just really fat sounding guitar. And his shredding stuff is just sick. Some of the stuff sounded like Zakk Wylde. I had to, for a second, I was like, "Is that Zakk Wylde?" Especially when I hit the wah, I was like, "Did Dave get Zakk playing on this?" But it just goes to show, like, just the lead stuff and the keyboards, which is there's not that much going on this record. For Dave to produce a full album like this by himself is just an absolute testament to the man. Like, what an absolute legend. And I know we spoke about solo artist last week, and I've spoken about recording albums by myself as well, and it's a big undertaking, especially when you're going to this extreme length to record it on tape. It's a big undertaking. So anybody that wants to be inspired to play everything, Dave's your man. Go for it. But yeah, I don't know. Did you hear the this is going off topic, but the DGs. This is Dave and the Foo Fighters doing BG songs, but in a more rocking way. So he calls it the DGs. Man, it's ridiculous. Just another. If you're looking for a laugh, Dave Grohl singing like Night Fever and shit.
Well, he's the last person that should be singing "Staying Alive." Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, actually, what's interesting. Another good thing about watching this movie is it gave me the inspiration to check out Jane's Addiction.
Nice.
Because in the movie, it's like they're like, "Oh, did you hear Dreamwood?" It's like, "Oh, weren't they meant to be the next Jane's Addiction?" And it got me curious. I'm like, "Who the fuck's Jane's Addiction?" So I listened to their first album. Like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
So that's another thing. If but yeah, no, yeah, especially, and that's another thing. If he was doing this all analog on tape, that means it would have taken extra effort to not make this just one song. He purposely fucked this up for the movie, chronological movie, and made it 8 tracks. Not saying I don't enjoy the tracks. I just think put all the songs here, all the 8 songs into one, and then. Yeah. But no, it definitely because this is weird because we're talking about like a fictional band, a time of the movie, so it's like I can't talk about it the same way like I mean technically it's obviously it's a real music, but like I can't talk about it the way we normally would because this is made solely to be a tie-in to the movie. So yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's like he does his David Vanilla Growl does his best to sound demonic, and there are a lot of tracks on here which really unleash that side of him. And I'm sure for him it would have been a fun endeavor to take because I mean because like even with Nirvana they didn't hit sounds as this kind of heavy. So yeah, I'm sure it would have been fun just to like go that far to the other side on that far on the other side for at least one project. So no, it was definitely a sound I would have preferred Foo Fighters to sound like more, but that's just me being biased. I guess I'm just biased to not really listening to many Foo Fighters albums in the past. What's also what I found funny is the cameo by the appearance of Kerry King in the album and how much of a dick he is. Well, they call him a dick, and then he gets burnt alive. Like he was like the first guy to die. So yeah, it's actually interesting all the characters they have into it. And actually, this is a bit of a side note, but you know the manager in the movie,
yeah,
the guy who books them the hotel, and then you find out at the end he was like the one that wanted them to be the vessel for the demon. the manager. He's actually being cancelled because he was part of a show called The Goldbergs. It was like a sitcom, a shitty. I tried watching it; it wasn't that good. But he was the dad in the sitcom, and he's a long-time actor. And actually, this is a funny story. That guy, that actor, he was in an interview. This was like last year or start of this year. He was in an interview, and the company he was getting interviewed with, one of the main workers, she wasn't there. Like she was out, and while they were waiting to record the interview, that actor, whatever his name is, he said, "Oh, where's your main, whoever she is?" It's like, "Oh, one of your staff's missing," and they said, "Oh yeah, she's at Skankfest, which is the Legion of Skanks yearly thing."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, Skanksfest, Legion of Skanks, what's that? That sounds disgusting. How dare you call?" Like, he started shitting on Legion of Skanks. And then a few months later, it was revealed that apparently on the set of his sitcom, The Goldbergs, this same actor, the manager in Studio 66, he was going around. He was going around referring to women, all the women on set, as pussies, like pussy, and he was being real misogynistic, which is ironic because he was giving Legion of Skank shit. And then now he's fired from the Goldbergs. So that just was a funny story to share because he was in the movie. But yeah, so that's how I know that actor from all that shit. But yeah, no, yeah, like overall, it has this movie especially has a real slasher vibe to it. It's like, lots of blood and which yeah, which the one thing I find interesting is, like, in the movie he kills off the band members one by one. He tries to, and it's just like, don't you need them to play your music? It's like, I mean, I know David Grohl is a multi instrumentalist, but like, yeah, I just found that funny because like the whole time I was like, hang on, don't you need them to do this bit and this bit and this bit? It's like, you can't just kill them off. And then the demons are like, keep recording the song. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, but obviously it's David Grohl, so he could do all the parts. But it's just like, yeah, I found it interesting. It's just like, yeah. And also, this guy here, the, the guy, the Indian looking guy.
Yeah.
So, because obviously, I'm not too familiar with the Foo Fighters. Is he part of the band? Is he like one of the...
he he's Pat Smear. He was one of the, not originally, but he was in Nirvana for a good while. So he's old school.
Oh, yeah, he looks kind of not like a rock star. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
it's like normally there, but yeah, that's...
Yeah, no, he was. If you should watch Nirvana Unplugged, did you ever see that?
Yeah.
MTV Nirvana Unplugged. Yeah, he's playing guitar on that show as well. Like, so, yeah, I love Pat. Like, I love. He's just like, he's a chill out, mellow guy in the background, but like he's done so many amazing things over the years musically as well. So cool. But you know what? Speaking of guitarists, there was this playthrough. I think they might have had in the movie they had the Dream Widow band as like ghosts or something in the background in one scene when Dave was at the pool, all demonic and shit. There was this young fella as the guitarist of the band Dream Widow, and I'm pretty sure he's the guy that they made famous at one of their shows. You know the way they pull a kid up onto the stage and they rock out and play a song? This guy got up on stage and he had like Kiss makeup on and a Kiss t-shirt, and they got him up on the stage, long black hair, and they played I think it was like Everlong or something like that with him. But they got him then into the movie because everybody was like, "Oh, Kiss guy, Kiss guy." So he kind of got known for being this Kiss guy that played with Foo Fighters. So he had a little cameo in the movie. But then there's a playthrough video. I think it might be an official one of him playing through the tracks of the album as this character from Dream Widow. But it's Kiss guy, like, it's really interesting. Kind of additional little, sneaky little nugget put in there. Like, I love that. Because yeah, everybody started listening to him and his own music. Even I did. I listened to his own guitar playing stuff through this. Like, it was really, really cool. But the other thing is that people don't realize that Dave Grohl was a metalhead, like a trash metalhead when he was a young fella in the 80s. He got into the grungy kind of punk scene in like the late 80s. He was in a band called Scream before he joined Nirvana. So, but that's where he kind of like gravitated into that kind of side of music. But he was, in himself, he was a little metalhead. And he actually said that this album was therapeutic for him. He got to actually do this. Like the Probot album would have been the same. The Probot album, if anybody hasn't listened to it, definitely give it a listen. When that came out first, the first single was with him and Lemmy, and everybody was like, "Holy shit, what the guy from Foo Fighters is playing this?" And so this kind of reaction that everybody's having to this album, being Dave Grohl's into metal and playing metal, happened, in the early 2000s. But it's just really cool because he's doing it again, and it actually makes so much sense. Like, I love the idea of this album from a rock and roll comedy horror movie. Like, Tenacious D done a really good job doing that as well. That Pick of Destiny album was fucking brilliant. I remember driving around that car singing every line. I could tell you every line. And I'm shy at remembering lyrics, even my own lyrics. But the Tenacious D album, I remember every single line. And Dave played drums on that entire record, as far as I know. And he done the vocals, obviously, for the Demon on that really cool last track. But yeah, so it's a really cool concept. This whole thing is a really cool concept. But I remember I heard a story that Dave wanted Nirvana in the in Utro tour. He wanted to get like Sepultura or somebody really fucking heavy to support them. And I don't think it went, but that's what he wanted. That kind of show where he is with metal. Like it's not doing it for the crack or just for the movie. Like he actually saw an opportunity. He's like, yes, I'm gonna throw down some riffage and scream your head off and stuff. So it's really cool. And then the very first track on this album kind of gives like a Sepultura Soulfly vibe, especially with the it's it's a really signature sound that he has on the toms. That he's got this really big, massive tom thing off him that he definitely got from Igor Cavalera, if you ask me. Igor Cavalera from Sepultura and Soul, not in Soul. Well, I think he did play in Soulfly, but on Cavalera Conspiracy. But yeah, that big, massive drum sound, and obviously Led Zeppelin stuff, and so. But yeah, this song in particular, straight away, just gives you this vibe that yes, he knows what he's talking about with the big feral vocals, and it's a thrash sludge extreme metal, and then it kind of just like carries on from there for the rest of the album. So, yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. I wanted to throw that Kiss guy thing in there.
Nice, nice. Before we go on to shoutouts, it makes you wonder though, if he's such a metalhead at heart, why didn't he just make music like that with Foo Fighters? Like, why has he not made that kind of style normally?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it'd be like he made that first Foo Fighters album to be a little bit similar but a little bit different from Nirvana. He didn't want it to be exactly the same. And the grunge stuff, I suppose, is very prominent in his life at that time. And he was like, I'll make something a bit happier, because he is a fun kind of guy. So I think it just kind of went from there. Like that got popular and it went from there, So it's kind of like me with the Viking metal. Like the Viking metal started getting popular with me, but at heart, I'm a pop star guy. I want to write a pop album.
Well, I can't imagine that. But now, I was just going through my phone, and I remember the 2011 album by Foo Fighters, Wasting Light. I remember that was a little bit heavier than normal. That was him like kind of it kind of like he was having hiccups of heavier moments, like oops. I remember. I don't know why I remember this album, but I remember this album, and I was like, oh yeah, this is heavy. I think the first track, Bridge Burning, on that album was real heavy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. There is the heavy elements, and even like the song number 5 here, Angel with Severed Wings. There's a Foo Fighters outro on that track, and well, it's not a Foo Fighters, but it's very similar stylistically to Foo Fighters, and you can imagine some bits. And when you see them live, they play things a little heavier, and it's always like Dave can be very intense as a musician as well. Like so, yeah. There's little sprinkles of that along the way, like
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Now that I've discovered their music properly, like I have a better appreciation for David and the band. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know where this preconception came from all these years. I don't know where that came from because I love Nirvana. So there really is no reason why I should have had this preconception for just David. I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now I know better.
Now you know.
All right. So, did you want to start us off with the shout outs?
Yes, this week I would like to give a shout out to Iron Age guitar picks. Bing! They are amazing. They're lovely and they're talented people. They have this in particular pick is one of my favorites. It's the Fenrir pick. Fenrir. Anybody that knows Fenrir, myself and Corbin like to wear Fenrir around our neck. This is their signature. They have a full collection, should I say, depicting different iconic Norse mythology characters. So this glows in the dark, by the way. I can't show it, but I think I might have tried to do this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
This is one of my students showed me this trick. Hang on. I'm holding my phone over. Wait for it. Apparently it gives it power. Yeah, it does. Look.
Nice.
Oh, glows in the dark. So they're incredibly made pieces. They're pieces of art, basically. My own signature pick, the Berserker one, is also available through us. Or if you want to get onto them, they will hook you up. They do anything you want, basically. Another one of my favorites that they made for me is this Irish shamrock one, Iron Age. It's made of kind of like a glass material. So yeah, I highly recommend anybody that wants some wicked picks, high quality goods, Iron Age guitar accessories. Which brings me on to talking about the Berserker stuff. I want to congratulate my buddy Cass for signing a endorsement deal with Cassidy's Guitars. So he's got a lovely bass coming along, which I can't wait to see it. But it's got on the scratch plate where mine has the Milner, his has the Berserker symbol. So it's kind of made me a little jealous. I think I'm gonna have to try and get another guitar with a Berserker scratch plate on it. So yeah, that's me shouting out the lovely folks at Cassidy's Guitars and Iron Age Guitar.
It's surprising to me that Cassidy wasn't already part of him because of his namesake.
I know, that's what the man said. The man himself, Simon Cassidy, said, geez, with a name like Cass, he should have been with us a while back.
Yeah. But no, yeah, obviously, congratulations to that. Can't wait to see that guitar. One of these days, we're going to get a Sagas design.
Sagas design. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Limited edition Sagas. Speaking of Sagas designs, perfect segue. Josh Freeman, that was so unintentional. Josh Freeman, aka there's only one Elvis, which is true. There's only one Elvis. He is our merch designer, and me and Ren talk back and forth all the time. Even if we're lucky enough to get super rich and famous off this podcast, he's still going to be our designer. I don't care how many big brands want to make us merch; they all have to go through him first. So you're going to be our merch designer until you get sick of us. Anyway, he makes these real sick merch. Which at the moment it's just at the moment it's just one design for now. More coming later. With our own specific Ren merch and the Serpent Tongue merch. So Berserker merch, Serpent Tongue merch. But for now, the design is fuck work. Listen to the Sagas Metal Podcast with our logo at the back. You can get it in a jumper or hoodie, depending on where you are. Long sleeve or short sleeve. yours should be there soon because he's just finished his UK shop. So all the people from your side of the world will begin there soon. I got a hoodie. It's in the wash. And yeah, it's really comfortable. The material is amazing. The logo is sick. I love wearing it out. Representing the SAGAS podcast. So go get yours today. I'll put it in the link below the actual website for it. Go check it out. Amazing stuff. And yeah, while you're there, go check out Josh's merch for his band, who is a solo band himself. Well, at least for There's Only One Elvis. That's a solo band. Go check out his other band, Motown, I think. Motown, yeah. Amazing stuff as well. So he's just a talented guy all around. And if you want to subscribe to our Patreon, we also have a show, a side podcast called Black Static, which I do with Josh. Only one episode so far. We do it once a month where we talk about movies. Yeah, real fun time to have him on the podcast. So yeah, go check out all this shit. I'll put a link to the website, his music, and everything. So talented guy. I'm glad he's with us. So go check that out. And also, I'll shout out Viking Trinkets. As Ren said, we wear the Fenrir, if that's how you pronounce it.
Fenrir, yeah.
Yeah, necklace. That's that right there. So this is from Viking Trinkets. It is super affordable, super comfortable. You can wear it every day, work or otherwise. At work, I just tuck it in. Then when I'm out of work, put it back out. I sleep with it on. I have it in the shower. It's really amazing, good quality. And they're always having good deals on the website. So go check them out, vikingtrinkets.com. And you can get 10% off when you use our code SMP 10. Is it? Yeah, SMP 10. 10% off. And if you order stuff, make sure to tell them that the SAGAS Metal Podcast sent you. That's me. Which leaves one more segment left. Take it away, Ren.
The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate. Demon voice.
Wow, that went a lot better than last week's.
He's in tune this time.
Oh, did you end up showing your son?
Oh, I haven't seen him yet.
Real?
He lives in Derry. I'll tell him during the week.
That was good times. All right, so Devil's Advocate. As always, I will start. The Devils.
Devil's.
So I'll start with my worst track, and this is, for me, it's track 5, Angel with Severed Wings. I don't know why. It's just like, I guess maybe the repetitiveness of the chorus. It's just, to me, it just sounded like, I guess, the least demonic song on the album. Like, you know, I was expecting a real demonic David Grohl, and he did pull it off really well. Just for this, just because we have to choose a song. The one lucky for me was track 5. By itself, it's a fine song, I guess, but when you put it with the other songs, it's just it stuck out like a sore thumb for me. So every time I listen to this album, it was the one song that always got to me. So that's my worst track. And for my best track, it's between 2 songs. It's between, obviously, track 8, Lacrimus de Ebris, because it's actually from the movie and obviously reminds you most from the movie. So that's an amazing 10-minute and 21-second track. And the first track, the 1 minute and 39 Insinio, however you say it. I love just how heavy it is, and it just blows you away knowing that this is David Grohl. So yeah, track 1 and track 8.
Nice. Actually, I think we've dubbed him with a new name with this album, David Grohl, because he's doing a shitload of growling on this. Yeah, man, I like, you know, Angel with Severed Wings is more of the, I could imagine it being like if it was, do you know what, if they ever so slightly changed the lyrics, this could be a Foo Fighter track. It just has that catchy melody sort of vibe. And then the outro was like full on Foo Fighters. A lot of really nice dynamics with the vocals leading up to the chorus, the vocals and the guitar dynamics. Yeah, it's a good track, but I can see how it wouldn't fit for you. But yeah, the very first track in Sino is bitchin'. It's a big bitchin' fucking, like I said, Sepultura kind of vibe. Um, yeah, I found it hard to pick a favorite because they're all really fucking good, like, and he really done a great job. The last track is absolutely killer because it's got that slick Sabbath vibe, that real sludgy riff fest kind of vibe. I love that. That was very, very cool. And then there's like this nice clean part, and then it kicks back into like just loads and loads of riffs. It's the kind of song I'd like to listen to if I was about to go start tracking guitars, because it just makes you want to just write and record and play big riffs. So yeah, I get you on that. So my favorite, I think I'll have to go with, is Cold, because it's just an all round killer tune. I love the riffs. I love the melodies. It's got that chunky, sludgy, head banging kind of vibe. It makes me scrunch up my face. I know when I like a song, I'm like, yeah, head banging, scrunching face. So once I, especially when we were listening to an album for the podcast, if it makes me do that, I instantly write on the piece of paper, fave contender. It's definitely on my list for fave contenders. March of the Insane is a brilliant, brilliant song as well. And that was close because it's got that Motorhead vibe, that really fast pumping sort of shit. And that's the kind of stuff I'm writing at the minute. I'm really digging that kind of vibe. But yeah, no, I think Cold, I don't want to wake up. I can feel the dead skin growing. Cold. He does this big voice on that bit, so it's like I love it. So yeah, that's my favorite, Cold. I could listen to that song, no matter what album it was on. I'd listen to that happily. I think Becoming is probably my least favorite track, even though it's a killer track. It's just I seem to listen to this one less, because Come All Ye Unfaithful is another really good track with bitchin' solos. I have to shout out Jim again for all the bitchin' solos that he done on this album. But yeah, Becoming has this really sinister, big, chunky, dark, like legitimately genre worthy. It's like blackened metal, big boom, 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 boom. It's really, really cool. It just has exactly what I want in a song. But I think just overall, it's competing with too many really good songs. His It's got huge guitars, huge screams, and creepy chorus, choir of kind of vocals, and monster roars, like monster roars. I was out listening to it going, is that Dave? So it's just really, really, really cool. But it just as a song as a whole, it just missed a few little bits for me. But it's still a killer track, and the riffs on it are wicked. And there's a nice guitar picking stuff kind of on it as well. So yeah, man, I was really surprised. I mean, I wasn't surprised that Dave could pull this off, but I thought this was even better than the Probot album. And the Probot album had like a shit ton of like A-list rockers, like I said. So yeah, happy days. We didn't match up on any this week, bro, but sure.
I remember like the
about.
first 20 episodes we were spot on 100%, and then
Yeah, man.
it kind of fell.
We've grown apart, bro. Our music taste has grown apart.
Oh no.
I don't even know you anymore.
I know what's happened. I better off myself tonight. Well, I'm very excited to announce the album for next week. I've been excited to announce this ever since you announced yours, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, the whole time while I was doing my research, I was thinking, this motherfucker made me do extra homework for this album by making me watch a movie on top of listening to an album. So the whole time, the main phrase that was blocked into my head was, payback's a bitch. Payback's a bitch. How can I make those words a reality? So I figured I'd do the only thing I knew how to do. So next week, we are covering the album, the 2007 release, the debut 2007 release by virtual band Death Clock. the Death album.
All right.
And one thing I forgot to mention is that to understand this album, you need to watch the first season of Metapocalypse. I've seen it multiple times myself. But yeah, so no correlation to last week at all. But it's just so it's a killer album, real fun. Our first virtual band, I think. Our first virtual band. So Metapocalypse, Death Clock. Are you familiar with them already?
Only what you've told me a few bits, and some of my students have told me I need to check them out as well. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, now you have to. Because otherwise you won't get this album. So remember, Ren, in case it's not clear already, just the first season. Just the first season. You don't have to watch the whole show.
Right, let me just write first season.
First season. It's a great show, very hyper. Actually, it's that clip I sent you.
Yeah.
Of Nathan Explosion. That's his name, Nathan Explosion.
Yeah, that's pissed off. He's mixing his album and shit.
Bleeding. Yeah. That's definitely you in a nutshell anyway. Yeah. The Death album. I've listened to this album so many times. The lyrics are hilarious. It's just it's the most metal band ever. And you'll see by the show the context. But so that's we're gonna be covering our first virtual album. Virtual band. They're like the death metal gorillas.
Yeah.
I guess. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your opinions next week. And yeah, so that is us for this week. And as we always say here on Sagas, wait, I need to say my catchphrase, but I need to find why. Hang on. No. Some reason the end button at the top is gone.
It's never going to end, just like the album. Yeah.
It's cursed. All right, I finally got it. So, same time, same place.
Same place or suck.